Christina. It's great to have you on the podcast. Been meaning to have you on, and finally we're here. So I'm very much looking forward to chatting and learning a bit more about your industry journey and what you've been up to, I guess.
Thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome. It's great. So just if you're able to are you able to just tell us a bit about who you are and just what you do? It'd be great.
Yes, my name is Christina. I was born and raised in London, Camden Town. I went to Ravensbourne University, did animation as you did. And as soon as I graduated in 2008, I was lucky enough to it was a good time for me anyway. I just got a runner's job really quickly for MPC, and that's where my journey began. And I was a runner who graduated, got promoted to render angler. It's kind of like graduating. and then when you're a render angler there at the time, I know everything's very different now, so we got to remember this is 2008, 2009. They had a whole system of like everyone got trained into matchmove first, which I believe other places did a similar thing, like Framestore did a similar thing. So everyone got trained into matchmove first, either from being a runner or render wrangler or data ops, one of the support roles. And then from there, once you'd sort of earned your stripes and worked on a few shows, you get to, maybe hopefully start training with a different department. You have to be quite independent about it. Like I had to go introduce myself to the animation team and just start doing some stuff. I remember at one point, when I was running there as well, I went to the commercial side because I was a commercials runner. So we didn't really cross into the film side of the building a lot. But that's where I ended up anyway. But when I was a commercials runner, I even did the thing that people wouldn't recommend now, and I don't either, which is offer yourself up for free to get some experience within the animation team. And I did that for a week. So I did the Evian Skating Babies advert, if anyone remembers it, because half the people were traumatized by that advert, and half the people were like, oh, it's a really cool advert. Other people screaming like, this is wrong, babies cannot dance like this. They were all on roller skates. Obviously I didn't have any hero babies in this, very background guys, not noticeable babies, but I was so excited and proud. Anyway, though, ended up on the film side, ended up there for 4.5 years in total. Did a lot of shows, did a lot of work. I'm not going to go through it, but because it's a lot. But I started on the Deathly Hallows Part 1, and by the time I left MPC, I was on 47 Ronin, and then in like the universe laughing at me kind of way, I ended up on 47 Ronin at Framestore as well. So I worked on the same show for two different companies in the space of 2 years, and you're like, this was a very Twilight Zone moment for me. I was like, I can't escape that film. I was doing matchmove for a while on and off, and I really wanted to get into animation, but I kept hopping around companies because contracts just came to an end. It was a time where like everyone was on 3-month contracts everywhere, and we were just getting out Marvel after Marvel film, moving on to the next company, coming back again. Like for a lot of the companies I've worked at, I've been there 4 or 5 times, and so it was really hard to get like an animation mentor to get me up to that next level. But what was good is I was getting to know everyone at different companies, so eventually my name is around and people know me, and I don't have to keep introducing myself. But I did feel like I had to keep starting again when it came to career progression, especially because there is a lack of matchmove artists. So usually people don't want you to move away from matchmove, which is understandable from a company's perspective, from getting a show just done perspective. I totally understand it, but you really had to put your foot down at one point and be like, but I really want to animate. Even though I've got no beef with matchmove, I liked it. particularly wanted to stay just doing body tracks. I was not very good at cameras. If you speak to anyone, they would be like, yeah, make her do a body track. Do not get this girl on camera. I could still do a decent camera, just like maybe not one of the mind-blowing, how are we going to solve this one? I was much better at doing the difficult body tracks. And that's probably because I wanted to be an animator. So I saw that as more kind of my thing. So I've actually got like 3 or 4 different mentors from the big studios, and each one helped me learn something new, gain some experience. I had to always do this after work, so asking people for their spare time like that, like I would bother my mentors on their lunch breaks on or if they were working late, and you'd be like, hey, and you know they don't want to see you. So you have to be really careful with that and respect their time, and that they're giving this to you for free, and you just want to do right by them. So there is a line of how often you should and can bother someone. Like I would never bother them if I didn't have something new to show them. You know, like, look, I've done some work. I'm not asking for something for nothing. And eventually had to start saving up a bit to do Animate as well. So I would do big matchmove contracts, save all my money, and so that I could take like 3 months off to do Animate workshops and just build up my reel and stuff until it was seen as good enough for film quality, for commercial quality, for something. And then move out of matchmove. So the actual big moment for me here was when I was working at one of the big companies. I was working for them for Justice League, and it was for matchmove. And they kind of wanted me to get a bigger role for that. Like we already had a lead though, and he was fantastic. So we were doing fine, but the company I was at did say they had good intentions for me to like maybe move on up. So that was cool, and I started talking to the animation supervisors in that company, and they were really giving me the time of day and like having little meetings with me and like, how can we get you into animation? We can't do it right now because we just don't need it, but maybe the next show. Those conversations started happening, and it was all getting really exciting. And I got pregnant, which is all right, which is fine. I just didn't plan it. So it was like really like I did want a baby, just like not yet. So there was this period of like, well, also you don't have to ever tell anyone you're pregnant. That's nobody's business really. It's a health thing. It's nobody's business really. So for a while I just carried on. I was pregnant, but no one knew. I was still training for animation. They were making plans for me, and I was like, cool. Eventually I'm like, I'm gonna have to tell someone. Like if I don't tell them, eventually it's just gonna show. And I have really funny stories of like being in dailies and stuff and being like, cool, that's great, that was approved, and I would run out and go throw up in the toilets, and like and then I'd come back and no one has any idea. And I'm like, they're like, I've had such a hard day, and no one knows.
Yeah, of course, because this was before pre like remote work, so you were actually at the studios.
Yeah, I was taking the Central Line to work, and if anyone, I don't know if you've got an international audience, but just to explain what the Central Line feels like, is like a sardine can. So you're up there with your fellow humans, and then that sardine can is placed into an oven of 200 degrees. That's what the Central Line feels like. So when you're pregnant, that is every day getting into work already tired. And I would go swimming in the morning. That was like my whole jam for a while. I go through phases where I'm either a runner or a swimmer, and now I'm weightlifting. So I fitness-wise, I've been through everything. But so I do all that, and everything was going great. And eventually I was like, okay, well, I'm 26 weeks pregnant. The show's starting to really, get to crunch time, and I'm doing big hours. I was like, I'm just going to talk to HR. I'm just going to be like, hi, I am with child. Just so you know, just so everyone's aware, I might have to go for appointments now. I might have to, start doing all this stuff. And they were super cool about it. they were like, cool, we're gonna make an official meeting for you, where we're gonna run down, what maternity leave and such is like for women at our company, and our process, and who you need to speak to if you need anything. And they did that. They did this big rundown meeting with me where everything was explained, and I was like, okay, cool, because obviously I've never done this before. And being a VFX artist, I was also mega nervous, if I'm honest, because the hours that we do and stuff. And I was really one of those people, you almost guaranteed see me there for dinner every night, just trying to get my work done, trying to get ahead of other stuff, maybe solving some techie issues. And I was like, it's cool for now. How am I going to do this with a baby, or obviously not newborn, but like with a young child? So I did have those concerns and stuff, and just having a meeting like that where it's like, oh, we have a plan, we have a system, don't worry, really made me calm down. So that's one of the things I'd recommend. Like, you don't have to tell anyone you're pregnant, but when you are ready to, because obviously eventually you do have to, they are going to probably be really cool about it. They are going to be like, oh, you are not the first pregnant woman. You are not the first. Don't worry. It might feel like that in your head. Like, I'm the only one who's ever brought this up and going to cause them some sort of grief. And, so that's fine. They're going to be really cool about it. Then they started chatting to me, the animation supervisors, who obviously didn't know I was pregnant yet. I wear very baggy t-shirts and stuff in general. So the little bump was there, but no one really would have seen it. And they started with their intentions of getting me to join the team of November that year, which was about 4 months away at this point. And it was like, cool, so we're going to get you onto this show. It's going to be awesome. You're going to be a junior animator. All of this stuff was music to my ears, apart from I was due to give birth in November. So I just had to be real with them as well. Like, so I'm going to have a baby when you want to promote me? That really sucks. I was so lucky at the time, and again, really lucky that everyone I've worked with has been so considerate. And I think because as well, I recommend, whilst you're young in the industry, whilst you're like making those gains and like learning everything and putting the hours in, definitely build yourself a good rep, because it pays off later when you need something, like I did. Like, I was like, hey, I've got this situation. And because people already knew, well, you've worked hard for us for so many years or so many projects in other companies as well. This guy's worked with you. This lady's worked with you. They know that you're, don't worry, we've got you, kind of thing. And that was awesome. So around that time, I went to a pub after work one day, not drinking, of course, but to join. We just finished something, and you meet some other people from other companies. Very normal in Soho at the time, which I'm kind of sad for people if they're not getting to experience that now with work from home. And I met this VFX soup and was chatting, and he was like, oh, we're working on this, and what do you do? And I was like, well, I'm in matchmove, but I really want to be an animator. He was like, well, you got a reel? And I was like, oh yeah, if you know, you're going to have your reel on your phone, guys. That's another thing. Always have access to your reel. Especially if you're looking to change, to move into another department, you might have these chance meetings. It wasn't very chance. Like, the VFX soup's wife was someone I knew, and she introduced me. So it wasn't all chance. But, you do bump into people, and sometimes a good relationship can start from there. And he saw my reel. He was like, oh, really cool. The next day I get a call from their company, from a producer at this company, and they're like, hey, so I don't know what you're up to right now, but we need another animator, and we're looking for so and so months, which kind of fit in pregnancy wise. So I was like, and so come in for a chat, really casual chat. I was like, okay, it's not an official interview. I'm not going behind my big company's back. I'm just having a chat and seeing what's up. And I did that, and then sort of the same day they offered me the job, which that doesn't happen. This is like back in the day. That doesn't happen anymore. Only twice have I been offered a job on the day that
Yeah.
I've interviewed, and it's always for these medium-sized,
Mm-hmm.
small-sized companies. So it's really cool that they were like,
Yeah.
yeah, like to make that decision on
Mm.
the same day. Good for me, timing-wise as well. And they made me an offer that I simply couldn't
Right.
refuse. Money-wise, it'd be an animation role, which is what I was gunning for. I just had to tell them now, like, I don't know if they know I'm pregnant. Like, I don't know if people can tell. It's at
Yeah.
that point, like, it'd be rude to be like, are you pregnant,
Yeah.
or did you just
Yeah.
put on a few? You know, so so I politely responded to the email, even though you don't have to tell anyone you're pregnant whilst you're looking for a job. This is another thing. Legally, you're not bound. You don't have to do it. I, however, felt because these guys are being so cool with me, they've made me a really fantastic offer. I've got nothing to lose because I am at this big company who's already offering maternity leave. So let me just explain to them the situation. And I politely wrote back, like, this is amazing. Thank you so much for this offer. I just wanted to let you know I am pregnant and this is my due date. So that is right at the end of this contract. And I just don't want to be a fool about it and be like, oh, I'm definitely going to go into labor on my due date. No, it can happen as soon as baby's ready. You know, it's up to baby. So, you know, is that all right? Plus, I did have appointments I needed to go to and stuff because even though I had a very healthy pregnancy, everything was going great. I was 30 years old at the time, so I was strong and fit and healthy, all the good stuff. I remember we had a scan where they were quite concerned because I was pumping too much blood to my placenta. And even though it's not like a big whoop, they're like, it's a bit abnormal, so we do want to keep an eye on it. And they were like, it could mean that your baby is a bit smaller than the average baby. Go figure, just spoiler alert, she's huge. She is a giant. She is so tall. She's the tallest kid next to all the kids her age. So that was the joke of it. Even when she came out, they were like, "Oh, long baby." I was like, "Yeah, I know." Trust me, I felt that. That was a big baby. You know. So I told him, and I was like, "But thank you so much for the offer, and I completely understand if you sort of need someone who can be there for longer. I just wanted to be upfront and honest." And he emailed back like, "Oh, I kind of guessed you were pregnant. Don't worry about that. I obviously didn't want to presume, but that was never a concern for us and never will be. Obviously, we won't be able to offer maternity leave." Let me explain that for you. This is a UK law. If you have been at a company for 26 weeks of your pregnancy, not 26 weeks in total, just 26 weeks of your pregnancy, they owe you maternity leave and maternity pay and a job offer to return by law. So that is one thing. As I would not be at this new company for 26 weeks of a pregnancy because I was at the tail end of my pregnancy. I believe I was 6 to 7 months pregnant at the time. 7 months, sorry. That they have no obligation to do so. Plus, they hired me as a freelancer. But when you're a freelancer, you can still get maternity leave and pay via the government. So you have to fill in a bunch of forms. Obviously, go on to .gov. They have all the information there. I was really scared it was going to be so tricky and like trick questions and you know, like, I don't know, prove you're pregnant. I don't know. I like someone flashes a light at you, but it was not that. Obviously, my paranoia is too much. And it's really easy and on their website, and you fill in the forms. You do need a doctor to sign off that you're like, yeah, she's gonna have a baby. And then you, as soon as you choose with them, you tell them when you want to start maternity leave, and you will start getting maternity pay sent to your account every 2 weeks. The amount you get at the time, it may have changed, but at the time, the amount you get depends on how much tax you've paid in for the duration of your pregnancy. Obviously, I'd been fully employed for all of my pregnancy, and even a slight pay rise bump when I moved to the new company. So that meant it was looking pretty good, and I actually ended up getting more maternity pay from the government than I would have gotten from the big company. So worked out all right. And also the bonus with that, but also the con, is that you can choose when to take your maternity leave, sorry, and when to return to work. However, you have not got a guaranteed job waiting for you. So you do have to start applying again. And obviously I had a year, 10-month gap in my resume. So obviously people would very innocently be like, what have you been up to? Because I see it's been 8 months. And that's the only time I kind of felt, I had a baby. And, like, I don't know how many times I'm going to have to sound that horn. But I had a baby. And it is a concern to some people. Like, look, I don't want you to just see me as a mother, but it is at the same time, I am a mother, but I'm still an artist. I actually did an I Animate workshop whilst on maternity leave. And I was there. It was my first kind of feeling of what working from home would be like. I say that because it wasn't really, it's a course that you've paid to do, but the whole having meetings, having lessons, doing it all from home, having someone, scrutinize your work from across the screen and not in front of you, and just drawing on top of your, still frames of your play blasts and stuff. That was the really good experience that got me ready for working from home, because once we started that, I was like, that's what it feels like. It feels like doing I Animate, but I'm getting paid for this and not paying for someone to teach me now. So that's really cool. And I did all that with a newborn baby in like a bassinet next to me, and even having some lessons and stuff with, like, I had to breastfeed, but no one would see because you got this, and I was very careful about it. I was like, don't stand up without thinking. You will traumatize your classmates. Bless. They were really cool. They didn't even know I had a baby until one time my husband came to take the baby from me, and I was in the middle of a conversation with my tutor at the time, who was Ted T, who I believe is now at DNEG Features, I believe, and I think he's doing really well. So I'm super happy, and hopefully we'll get to see him in the future or talk to him again, because he was amazing. And I remember just one time he saw the baby go by, and he was in the middle of something really serious, and be like, "There's a baby on the screen. Anyone else?" Like, I was like, "Yeah, sorry, that's mine." So once you get used to that, I don't know why. Maybe it's a generational thing. I was worried about not being seen as a serious artist somehow, or that my attention was now divided. Whereas what I've found since having a baby is that I'm actually more efficient, because I ain't got time to. I got a time limit. There is a child crying in the background, so I'm actually more efficient with my work and plan my day really well. And I don't think I used to plan my day really well, because I'd always be like, "Oh, you can just stay after work. You can just stay and finish that up. You can go to that meeting, and then, oh yeah, I've got to fix that. And then, when am I going to get around to doing that shot that I have to start today?" And my brain would just go, "It's cool, stay for dinner." And you get so used to that. And luckily that was all through my 20s, because I don't think I can do it now. But I was able to do all of that stuff. And it is sometimes important for like team building and whatnot, but it's not necessary to work that ridiculous hours. Please think about your health. I did used to get like stomach pains and stuff from stress from working so late sometimes. So those are moments I regret, that after having a child now I'm like, why did I put myself, I'm still good. I still get stuff done. Not in a big-headed way, like I'm so amazing. It's not, it's just that I know I've got more confidence in my skill set now, and also know that I can talk to people and just be real about it. Like, hey, my little girl's sick today. I can still work, but just so you know, this and that. And people are more understanding than you think. Especially because I think the industry is at an age now. It was still really young when I joined. And now we're at a stage where a lot of the people who started in the early days, started on the early Harry Potters and the Walking with Dinosaurs, all of those people are now parents themselves and have had kids, and so there is a lot more understanding and flexibility. And then bam, pandemic hits, and it was a game changer, I believe, for
Right.
parents. Not in the beginning, because if you
Mm.
were like me, I don't know if you had a nursery or anything like that.
I mean, well, I guess, well, it might be, the good thing is that I had my wife around, so she was able to watch my son at the time. And also because he hadn't
Yeah.
started the nursery, he was always at home. But
So he was used to it, and
he,
he was like, well, this is just life as
yeah,
normal.
sort of, yeah. My wife was able to manage him somehow. So
Your wife sounds awesome.
so yeah, I was
Sounds
able to
really
get
cool.
work done somehow.
Well done, her.
But I can imagine it might have been more different for you because as a mother, your child is more likely to want to need you.
Well,
Um,
she takes
right.
turns with who's the favorite. So when she was a baby, if I'm going back now, when I returned to work, I did my maternity leave. I did a little Animate course just to kind of stay fresh. Plus, I wasn't good at just
Just idle,
being
yeah.
at home. I'm really, and I tried. I went to all the parenting groups. Like, it just wasn't for me. And that's not to say that those groups aren't awesome and really great for women who want that kind of other mothers supporting each other and stuff like that. Awesome. It just wasn't for me, and I was missing, in as cheesy as a way I could put, the
Right.
art. I was missing the art a lot. I was missing creating stuff. And at the time, I had obviously all my buddies still messaging me like, hey, how's the baby? And I'd be like, it's cool, man, what are you working on? Like, give me something. Give me some info. And then they talk about what they're working on, and I'd be a bit like, oh man, that would have been cool to work on.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy the time. You should enjoy your maternity leave. Do what's right for you as far as like how long you want to stay in maternity leave. I know another mother who did it for 2 years, and she was fine with it. And if you're, again, if you're happy with that, I was sort of yearning to. I wanted it all, as cheesy as it sounds now. And having it all doesn't mean that it always works out. Some weeks are better than others. Some weeks you're a better worker than you are a mum, and the other weeks you're a better mum than you were a worker. The key is balance, and overall, you'll still do a good job at both. Definitely keep calm. Find things that still make you happy. So I love drawing. I love gaming. I clocked Horizon Zero Dawn during my maternity leave. And I remember other mothers like, how are you doing that? I mean, like, the baby. And I was like, mate, if you know how to wrap a baby to your chest, you're good. You can do most things. And if you're breastfeeding, of course, because that was my whole thing. I could be there for like a breastfeeding session and clock so much of the game. So I was really happy. As long as you still do things that you love, and then still be a great mom, and then still be a great whatever chosen career you have or department, then you will be fine. It will all feel really stressful in the beginning just because you are tired. This is new. This is, you think tiredness. Right? So you think you know what it's like because you worked on a show until 4 a.m. I see your show tiredness, and I up you. I raise you, child and show at the same time, and it's a whole new skill set. But I do love that, at least because of having a baby, I had to rein myself in, and now I'm way more efficient at work. I almost always finish at 6, unless maybe a dailies meeting or something went over just a bit, and you're like, oh man, could you just publish that? Yeah, no problem. That takes you 10 minutes. So I would say out of a year, 80% of the year I'm finishing on time, and then I have maybe 20% crunch time. But again, working from home has changed that so much. And now I am home for bedtimes. I'm home for dinner time. I'm home in the mornings to get her ready for nursery and stuff. So that is the game changer. Although I'm open to hybrid working as well, because I do also like the studio environment. And sometimes you can just pass someone's desk and they're doing something, and you're like, hey man, how did you do that? And they're like, oh, and they run it. It's something different about being catching them in the act, and even just like kitchen coffee talk, stuff like that. I do miss. So we haven't gone back to that yet at my current company. we are instigating that now, so people are trickling into the office now. It's like doing it bit by bit, so as not to stress out our IT department too much. Like a wave of artists returning on one day must seem so scary. So they're trickling in now. And we got to choose, actually. So we got to choose, do you want to come back to the office, or do you want to be always at home? We're cool to do both. We're cool if you want to mix it up, and just let us know if you want to come in one week, because maybe you've got a really difficult shot and you feel the need to be present with your soup, with your lead or whatever. So that's working out really well now. But at the beginning of the pandemic, because everything shut down, including for me, my daughter's been at nursery since she was 10 months old, so she's very used to routine. And she just had her routine down. Thursday's a swimming day, and she had all of this stuff going on, and then bam, it stops, and she's at home with me, and I'm still trying to work, and her dad is still trying to work. And she doesn't understand this whole, but you're here, you're not at work. She understood that we went somewhere before, and that meant mummy's going to work. I think she was only 2, would have been the same as your kid. She was only 2 when it started, so potty training was going on at the time as well. I just felt like everything was hitting me. I was like, why? Because potty training for us was not easy. All those people that say, we did it in 3 days, I want to burn those people alive.
It wasn't easy. Neither for us.
Good for you.
We're learning actually with the newborn. So literally, my wife, the first week the baby was here, she's literally put him on the potty. So he's been potty training since week 1. So we're hoping we're hoping by the time he's 1 or 2, he'd be able to comfortably be ready.
It's I would do so much differently now. I think everyone says that the second one, you're I have a plan now, okay, because I know what worked for your sibling. But the funny thing is, every child is different as well. So things that worked for number 1 might not be the same for number 2. But I like to think if I had a second, I have so much experience now. I'm like, oh no, I would do that all different now. I know the way. I know, I know the right way to do things now. But it was really difficult in the beginning, and working and being in meetings with a crying child in the back. And then I'd look to my husband, and he'd look to me like, I'm on the phone too. What do you want from me? I was like, So that was a really tough time. We got through it somehow. And what's really cool is the company I was at the time, which is different to the one I'm with right now, but they were still we get it. Everyone was struggling. And that was, as sad as the situation was, there was a form of unity in the look. We're all pretty bummed out right now, and we're all struggling. And then those of us that have kids are wanting to tear our hair out. And then the other ones who don't have kids but maybe live alone are suffering in their own way, have got a whole new stage of loneliness that maybe they weren't prepared for. And then other people who are introverts and were loving it were like, this is it. This is the key to me being really great at my job. So loads of things came out of this whole experience that, for better or for worse, I think everyone's learned a lot about themselves. And I've definitely learned to be a better artist in some ways. We have to communicate a lot better than we had to before. Not that we were caveman before and just bashing on our screens going, it's not working, but really have to explain what's going on. We have to share screens, share things now, and in dailies we have to be a bit more, you're not just in a black room anymore in darkness with someone either saying approved or not. It's so much more information coming out. So really, I like that a lot of the companies are offering either hybrid or stay working from home, or if you want to come back in, back in. And I think as long as, legally they're still allowed to do that contract-wise with the NDAs they have with our big clients and stuff, please continue, because it's really, it's been so great. And it gives so many people, I know so many people who had, I don't know if it's an appropriate term, but pandemic babies, because they saw the opportunity. Especially if you're someone luckily I had a very run-of-the-mill pregnancy, but I suffered from nausea like crazy. So all throughout the day, I wanted to throw up. You'd be there chatting to people, talking about locators and stuff, and I'd just be like, don't throw up, please. Like, it'll be the worst. Could you imagine if it got on the keyboard, man? I'd tell myself, could you imagine the keyboard? So I can imagine, like, if I was pregnant during the pandemic and working from home, maybe I would have felt loneliness and other things and struggled with appointments, maybe because of the mask and stuff like that. But the nausea thing, I always think, it would have been so handy to be at home whilst feeling that sick, because I was still able to work. That's the thing. You're still able to work. You've just also maybe need to run to the toilet every now and then, But now we're at a place where she's going to be starting school in September, and we're going to change routine again. So again, I have to. We didn't get the wraparound care that you get at schools. We've already applied, and they've already shut us down. They're like, the queue is too big. The waiting list for this, I'm on the waiting list now, but you might not get wraparound care. For those who don't know what wraparound care is, it's just school finishes at 3:15, and we finish work at normally 6:30, depending what company you're at. So what's going to happen in those 3 hours? Most schools have an after-school club, and the kids will go straight from their classroom to maybe their school hall or their school PE room, whatever the school calls it, and they'll have like activities to do and a bit of a snack time, and either art or reading nooks, all of that stuff. And then you can come pick up your kid at 6, way more reasonable. Wraparound care also includes a morning club for those maybe parents who work at jobs where you have to start at 6, like maybe you're a bus driver, maybe so they will also take your kids in the morning. It's way cheaper than nursery. I don't want to go into nursery prices on this podcast because that's a whole different debate, but prepare yourself. And like, it's not cheap, so like really plan ahead for that sort of stuff. So we didn't get wraparound care, and we got shut down straight away. So I'm here going, in September, things are going to change. Life's pretty cool right now, routine-wise. We've got this down. I'm just hitting show after show, getting stuff done. Even if I have to pick up my daughter early from nursery, they know I'll come back, settle her down, and just finish off what I was finishing off. They know and can trust me now. And hopefully other parents have been like showing the same, like, look, we can still do this. We can still get the deadlines done. It's just every now and then we might need an hour to go deal with something child related, and then we'll be back at 8 p.m. when the kid is asleep, and I'll quickly finish up what I need to, have dinner. It's all good. And I love that they just have that trust in us, because I feel like we deserve that trust now. Well, I say, I can't speak for every artist, but all the artists I've ever worked with rather, work their butts off. We really love what we do. We wouldn't be doing such a hard job if we didn't also love film and love TV and love creating stuff and working in this collaborative way. So what's nice is this realization of, like, they trust that we love doing this and we want to do a good job, but that we are also parents and we got to take care of our kids. And now that there's this flexibility, I really do have days where I'm like, I've got this. Don't worry, put on my cool glasses. I'm so ready, man. Hit me. What you got? So that's really cool. And I hope that sort of life continues. But I did have to have a chat with my current boss, with my current head of department. And I have already given him the heads up that, in September, things are going to change. And I can't tell you exactly what that's going to look like yet. But here's a few ideas that I proposed to him of how we could manage it, and can we chat to HR about this? And I was so nervous going into that call, because I'm essentially asking you to shift my hours around, just believe that I'm going to get the work done, to not have me physically present for at least an hour of the end of the day. The only thing I feel that would affect is maybe daily sessions, meetings, rig meetings, or maybe we have a special meeting for a particularly difficult sequence and we just need to put our heads together, stuff like that. But even then, my manager was like, it's cool, we'll figure it out. And that's just how he said it. We'll figure it out. Like, we don't want to lose you. Artists are in high demand right now and stuff. So if I feel like if you've proven yourself and you're a good artist and you get the work done, trust me, they don't want to lose you. So if you go to them honestly with your issues, as far as parenting issues go, I'm pretty sure they'll want to work something out with you and make it work. And it's what I've found, and it's been so lovely to just feel that value as well. Like, we don't want to lose you. And I was there like, you're gonna make me cry. Stop it. You know. And also know your worth.
course.
That's something I've been learning. I really had to learn that bit of just know your worth. You know, you've if you're at a similar point of your career like me, so I'm 15 years in, but that's from running to now. As an artist, I'm 13 years in. You've worked really hard. You've got all these shows under your belt, BAFTA wins, Oscar wins. It's for a reason. You know, you've done well, and you can start to, you know, we can meet in the middle for so many issues, and we can still get a brilliant show done. And you can be really proud of yourself, and your family life won't suffer if you remember priorities. I think once you figure out priorities and you can be honest with people about them, it's fine. You know, obviously don't be unreasonable. I don't know what I could demand that would be unreasonable, but say I just was like, so I'm going to work half days and I want the same pay. You know, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be more like, okay, so this is the situation. I want to shift around some of my hours to make my life a bit easier and manage my child. But I also want to get my shots done, and I don't want to give up hard shots. I don't want to be seen as a less efficient worker or anything like that. I still want the challenges. I still want, give me a big juicy monster shot. I can do it. And hopefully you've proven that you still get things done, and they're willing to meet you halfway for some things. Lucky enough, I've been at my company a bit now, so I've got that relationship with my team and with HR. It might be a bit different for you if you're starting a job and you straight away have demands. I would just think diplomatically about those demands and what's reasonable, and what's your role as well. If you're going in for a lead role, you're needed a bit more than I'm a mid-level animator, you know. So I'm in quite a good position of, yes, I'm needed, but I'm not like the top person who will be in bidding meetings and stuff. I'm just getting shots done and going to dailies and stuff. So I'm in a really cool place. But obviously I do know a lot of parents who are leads, who are supervisors, so they probably have to negotiate somewhat differently. So I would say it's based on your company, how long you've been there, what's your experience, what value do you bring to the table. I'm sure if you're a lead or a soup, you've got quite a lot to offer. So, and they'll want you, and I would just be humble about it. How can we make this work? How can we meet halfway? And most places are like, cool, thanks for being honest with us. Let's work this out. But remember your priorities, what value you bring, and, you know, depending on the show, how much of your time extra. Obviously, please do your contracted hours. Please don't go against contract. But how much of your time otherwise are you willing to give for something? If that means, like, every now and then I've had to work a Saturday, which means I won't be playing with my daughter that day, but maybe we'll do like pizza in a film that night, you know, which she finds really cool. Like, we eat pizza on the floor and we watch a new film, and, you know, and she's like, whoa, we're not at the dining table, what's going on, you know. So that's my flexibility. That's what it looks like for me, and it might look different for everyone, depending on your role.
Do you think there's more hesitancy for female artists deciding to start a family compared to yours? Because yours was unplanned for, let's say.
Unplanned.
So
what, medically speaking on the forms, they call it a spontaneous pregnancy.
All right.
when it's an unplanned
All right.
pregnancy. So they call it, I loved it, going through 9 months of, this was spontaneous, guys. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
You know.
But yeah, do you think people, like women, because I know there's a lot of hesitancy, like it's a big deal, like to give up your career to start a family. So there's and also you have to account for your age and where you are.
Oh yeah.
So
I wish you didn't have to.
of
I
course,
really
yeah.
wish that biology didn't discriminate against age, but that is you have to be real sometimes, and that is a factor. Not always, but it depends on your health and fitness as well. Sometimes those factors are included. But I would definitely, personally speaking, I can't speak for every woman, which is one of those things on a podcast, when you're interviewed for things like this, you're like, I cannot speak for every woman, but I would agree that it's definitely something that probably comes up with a few people in relationships who have this great career going on. Because I did, as you saw, I was about to get promoted, everything was, coming up Millhouse, everything was great. And then life kind of threw that wrench at me. And instead of seeing it as this big, oh, my career's over, I never saw it like that. So it's really, how do you see yourself in these situations? I never saw it as my career was over. I saw it as what I like to call my career as a big game of snakes and ladders. I think it's called other things in other countries. Shoots and ladders or something in the US. Right. So depending where you are, that might be a different game, but that is definitely what mine is. And I do not see a time limit on my career, because I was at uni with people who were 10 years older than me, and I was like, wow, you just up and changed careers. There was someone else I was working with, a comper, had a huge career. He was a senior comper. He has now left the VFX industry to be a priest. He completely switched up careers. So I wouldn't like to put a time limit on your career. If you need to take a bit of time out to have a baby, because that's how you want to have a baby, or you could have a baby the way I did, and like, oh, I'm going to go back to work and get her into nursery, that's fine too. You need to really be sure of how you want to handle things, though. And also, it's all right to change your mind. If you were doing this and you were like, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mum, and then you change your mind, I would just, please don't feel guilty about that. We're allowed to change our minds about things. We're allowed to be like, do you know what? I want to go back to work. Or whether you're worried about whether work will take you back, the only thing I'd recommend is, because of what we do, it's creativity. It's like playing a musical instrument. If you stop playing the guitar for a year, you might not be as good at it when you go back. So I would also say, give yourself a few little projects, little ones. I'm not saying a 5-minute short film. Literally, I was doing animations of like a guy picking up a ball, which sounds like a really simple thing to do. And the great thing about it is it was no pressure. Like, I wasn't doing a huge battle sequence, people fighting. I just kept the wheels turning. So I remember Maya and remember how to key things. So I would encourage people to think of it that way. If you're worried about losing your
skill,
velocity or something, and skills, just do little things. Don't feel like you need to do a massive project to prove your worth. I would do lots of little things and talk about that when you apply to jobs again, when you apply to come back. You might be in a situation where you get offered jobs back, or where people reach out to you like, hey, don't know what you're up to. That could happen too. And again, that goes back to, have you built up a good reputation? Have you worked really well with all the companies you've worked with, and do people like your work, and were you a valued member of the team? Always shoot for that sort of reputation, so that if you change your mind about anything, if you want to come back to work, these are options, because you are valued, and you are, you gotta have some confidence as well. There's a reason you're in. This is a hard industry. You are up against, I always like to tell the story of, like, when you're at school, you were probably the best drawer in your class. You were probably the best at drawing some manga in your class, and you were like, I've got talent. You felt good about yourself. Then you go to secondary school, maybe there's one or two other kids they're kind of good at drawing, you're side-eyeing like, hey, they're kind of good at drawing too. And then you go to like sixth form and you do art. So everyone in that room wants to do art. They are good as well. And then you specialize even more. And I went to do animation. Everyone could draw better than me. I was the worst in the class, you know. So you gotta humble yourself with these things as well. There's a reason we're in this. It's a hard thing, but you worked hard. You obviously care about it enough to be there. And the way that I've heard stories of people joining the industry from many other industries, I just gotta believe that the world is a bit different now. In my parents' day, they don't like the idea of me jumping contracts because in their very old school mind, you join a company and you are there for life. Okay, that's your company. And that doesn't have to be the way. And there's no bitter feelings either. When I go back to other companies, it's more like meeting up with old friends. It's there's no like, oh, she left us. No, we do contract work. We work on projects and shows. And I've worked with loads of people in different places, and we're all used, you know, it's so different now. I'm trying not to go off on a tangent, but to answer, I know it's a worry for a lot of people, and maybe even to the point of like, whilst I was pregnant, and people didn't know, some people would be talking about, oh, so and so's pregnant, and I would listen in. My ears would like right up. I'd be there, you know, I'd be there like a meerkat over my desk. What are they talking about? What do they think? What's their opinion? It's, by the way, they shouldn't even have an opinion. It's your body, your business. But one guy I used to work with, no names are coming in, but he actually, you know, said like, oh, I think she should go into production then. And my brain went, why? Which I said, why? He was like, you know, I just think that would be easier for women who want to be parents. Have you met anyone who works in production? They are working so hard. I think my production people do more hours than me right now. So I was like, that's just wrong, and that's you stereotyping really badly, my man. And you know, I got to say, it hurt my feelings that my, you know, someone I worked with actually thought like that. He's like, I just don't know how you could come back. But now I have so many friends in the industry who are mums, and we're there killing it, still being leads, still being soups, still being seniors, getting the jobs. You know, some people have different arrangements than I do. Like I have met mums who do work part-time, and the way they figure it is they share with another parent.
Okay.
I can't go into that too much because I haven't done it myself, but it's another possibility. So there are so many companies, I wouldn't be afraid of telling them that, look, I've got kids, or I've got, I wouldn't tell anyone you've got intentions to have kids because things can change. That's, again, your personal business. That's like me walking into an interview and telling someone I plan to get married. Like, they're like, so? Like, if it doesn't affect the job yet, there's no need to bring it up. There's no need to plan things out before anything is a definite. But I can definitely say when I was young and in my 20s and doing the hours I was doing and thinking, am I going to have kids one day? I would just shoot down those thoughts like, girl, you're busy, career right now. I would chastise myself. And that's kind of sometimes a bit sad to think of, because you should be allowed to dream ahead, and there's nothing wrong with wanting a family. But you know, when I started as an artist, my first year being a matchmove artist, I remember I was on a floor, a really big open plan floor in a big company, and there were 60 people on that floor, and I was the only female. And I know there were 60 people on that floor, and I know I was the only female. The reason I found out the number is because they turned the female toilets on that floor into a unisex, because there's 59 guys queuing up to use the toilet, and I've got my own personal toilet. So stuff like that, I was like, all right, fair enough. But so back then I was even more worried about being taken seriously. I never wanted to be seen as like one of the lads, because I'm just myself. I've always just been, and I encourage everyone to always just be themselves. You shouldn't worry about things like that. But I can definitely see why someone would worry about family planning and their career in any job, though. You know, not just VFX. In any job, I can see it as also that the childcare costs are high. So a lot of people look at those costs and look at if your salary isn't worth the amount of childcare you're going to pay out. So for instance, if the amount of childcare you're paying out is 80% of your salary, is it worth it? How much does your career mean to you? To each individual, this will be different. I have been dreaming about animating professionally since I was 14 years old. I got Flash 5 and I got a little graphics tablet, and I was dreaming my heart out doing my little 2D animations, and I cannot justify not doing what I always dreamed of doing, especially since I'm in. You know, so for me personally, it would be a huge sacrifice to not do what I wanted to do. And I think my daughter would pick up on that. I think she'd pick up on that. You know, say you quit your dreams. I think it's better that she sees that I had these big career dreams and I met the challenges and I'm doing it and I love my job. You know, that's another thing. I really love my job. Maybe if you're someone who doesn't love your job, this is where the decision would be a bit harder. But then we can go into deeper. Why don't you like your job? You should definitely find something you like doing. You know, you're doing this for 8 hours a day. I hope you can find something you love doing. You know, so for me, it was a very easy decision. I personally did want a kid. I didn't want a child when I had one because I wasn't planning it. And I was in the middle of, maybe I'll get promoted into animation this year and stuff. But look, it happened to me and I'm still in animation. You know, nothing bad. It didn't derail me at all. You need to be committed though. You need to show up. You need to make that real. You need to make it good. Ask people their opinions. Also, when I was coming back into the industry, when I was like, you know what, I'm ready to go back to work. Let's find a nursery. Let's test this out. I asked a bunch of my old colleagues, what films are being worked on right now? Who's working on what? And you can tailor your show reel to that company. And I would always tailor your show reel, unless you're desperate and you just got let go, and you know, something like that does happen as well. Contracts get ended, shows get torn up, and you're on the streets and you just got to get your next contract. So in that case, you might not have time to, let me just perfectly tailor it. No, you will be out there throwing. we don't have physical reels anymore, but I still did once upon a time. I remember that. But you will be there literally slapping people with your reel, please take me. If you're in that financial situation, there's no shame. Bills have got to be paid, you know. But if you do have time to plan ahead, I would tailor your reel and your applications to that company and what they're working on or what's coming up. They will love that you actually gave a damn to look into this, and I see you've got a show with lots of dogs coming up, so here's a bunch of dog animation I did. If you're a CFX artist or if you're a creature artist, lots of fur, because I hear you've got lots of furry animals coming up. If you're an FX artist and there's a whole film that's based out in the ocean, I'm going to do lots of water sims and get that solid. You know, everyone can tailor something. I think maybe not matchmove, because that's a harder thing. The only way to do personal work for matchmove is, why did I do that? I didn't mean to do the sarcastic quote marks. Anyone listening, I just did sarcastic quote marks. No reason. It's overused. But you would have to go out, shoot your own footage, do your own lens grids, do your own tracking and play. And if you wanted to show personal body tracking, oh my gosh, are you going to find a rigger who's going to scan someone in? And you know, that's a lot of work. So for matchmove, if you're in matchmove or layout, it's maybe a bit more difficult to tailor your things. Really, the only way I got jobs is that I did really difficult tracks and shoved those in people's faces. Do you know anyone else who could have tracked this? This took me days, you know. So that's a different method of applying. That was my extreme methods. But for animation, for a lot of the other things, you can tailor your show reels, and I would do that. So going back to your point, I'm so sorry I went so far off the mark, which I told you.
That's okay.
I told you I would.
It's really good. It's very.
but it is, it is a real thing. I thought this question might be brought up, and all I can say is I can't speak for every woman. Not every woman wants a kid either, so not every man wants a kid. But all I have to say is if you really care about your career, if it means this much to you, but you also want a family, you can make it work. You can figure it out. You've got to find the companies that, don't be disheartened if they do shoot you down because of any of these reasons. They're a bad company then. That's not the place for you. You should find a place that you deserve, that deserves you. I wouldn't worry about it. I would try and plan as best you can, because there's nothing wrong with planning. I wouldn't let it soul destroy you and make you think, is my career over? No. I've seen loads of people come back into the career later on. I don't really see ageism. I haven't witnessed it myself in our industry. So I wouldn't worry about that stuff. Do what's right for you. How did you envision having a family? Did you envision being at home with your child for a bit? Then do it. Test it out. You can come back.